Adam Tave at the helm, the NFL once again anticipates news that could completely change the course of a historic franchise. The New York Year are working to finalize a deal that is expected to make John Gruden the team's new head coach. According to information from ESPN, negotiations are not yet fully complete, but the expectation is that a deal will be reached soon. After a disastrous season, finishing 4-13, one of the worst run defenses in the league, and years of instability since the Tony Commune era, the Giants are betting on an experienced name. A Super Bowl champion, he's known for instilling identity and physicality in his teams. What could this possible arrival mean for New York, for John Gruden, and for the future of the franchise? And that's what we're going to analyze now.
With Arter and Trev, John Harbaugh will be making that 3-hour drive up I-95 North to join the Giants, as he and the Giants are working to finalize an agreement to make him New York's next head coach. And barring a setback, a deal is expected. Multiple sources tell ESPN. Per Adam Schefter, the deal is not final and contract numbers are still being negotiated. Still a lot to work through, according to one source. John Harbaugh takes over a team that went 4-13 last season while ranking last in rush defense. Giants have the 5th overall pick in the draft and Jaxson Dart returning for his second year under center.
Developing story out of the NFL, the Giants are working to finalize a deal to make John Harbaugh their new head coach. That's according to an ESPN report. Still a lot of things to deal with, still a lot of numbers to go over according to the report, but the sides are expected to come to a deal as soon as possible. John Harbaugh was fired after 18 seasons in Baltimore. He would be replacing Brian Dable, who was fired by the Giants in November after a 2-8 start. And they're looking for a winner since Tom Coughlin. All 4 full-time Giants head coaches since Coughlin finished with a losing record. The Giants have the second worst record in the NFL in the past 10 seasons. Since the Tom Coughlin era, only the Jets are worse. It has been a tough time of football in the New York area for both the Jets and Giants. And for now, the Giants have found their man, finalizing a deal with John Harbaugh. Get some instant analysis. Welcome in CBS Sports NFL reporter and writer JP Acosta. JP, this was the big fish, right? Everybody wanted John Harbaugh. The Giants made sense for him to go there, a chance to win right away. What's your reaction that John Harbaugh is set to be the next head coach of the New York Giants?
Yeah, I think this is really fascinating, especially for the Giants, because they have been looking for a guy to sort of hold up that Tom Coughlin mantra. We just showed that graphic of all those coaches that they've had since Tom Coughlin. They have been chasing that ghost since he left the Giants. And now it feels like they finally got it in John Harbaugh. I know how it ended in Baltimore, but he gives them some stability. He gives them an identity. And I think what John Harbaugh teams will always have is that level of physicality that I think they're going to bring and they're going to want in New York. So having John Harbaugh in New York with that really young roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I think it'll really help sort of kind of get them off the ground. They need to get off of the ground level when it comes to the NFL pecking order. So I think Harbaugh will really be able to do that.
JP, why will this work with John Harbaugh in New York?
So this will work mainly if he's able to bring the offensive coordinator, if he's able to bring the offenses that he brought to Baltimore. I'm saying if you can get Todd Monken in New York and kind of work with Jaxson Dart, I think that's the biggest thing and the biggest reason why this hire will work is because you're able to turn Jaxson Dart and that offense that has so many really fascinating young players like Malik Neighbors, Cam Scadaboo, Andrew Thomas is one of the best left tackles in the NFL. If you're able to turn that offense into something that can consistently score with other teams within the division and within the NFC, I think this hire is going to really work. But again, it always comes down to being competitive. And that's something that the Giants have not been for the last couple of years. They just weren't a competitive football team. So if you're able to get that toughness, if you're able to get that physicality that John Harbaugh teams brought, I think that'll be a win.
What excites you the most about John Harbaugh? And also on the flip side, what concerns you about John Harbaugh?
So I think my answer for what excites me is also the thing that concerns me. And it is being able to go out and get those hires like Todd Monken. If you're able to get an offensive coordinator that worked with Lamar Jackson, help turn that offense into one of the most efficient buzzsaw-like offenses in the NFL, if we were talking about last season, I think that's an incredible hire. But I don't want John Harbaugh to repeat the same mistakes that he did that led to his firing in Baltimore. I think a lot of what happened in Baltimore last year was him not being able to grow and develop, and he stuck with the same things that worked defensively. When you promote Zach Orr, when you go out and hire Wink Martindale a few years ago. I just hope for the Giants and for Harbaugh that he doesn't try and create Baltimore North, or he doesn't try and go and get the old guys that used to work in Baltimore to try and revamp the same old thing that he had with the Ravens, with the Giants. I hope he sort of modernizes what he did in Baltimore. So while I am excited about who he could bring on as a coordinator, I think that's also my biggest concern.
I think what excites me the most, and I'm not a Giants fan, but the fact that he's got 3 young pieces to work with, right? Jaxson Dart, Cam Scadaboo, and Malik Neighbors, the last 2 coming off injury, and he's going to have to work with Jaxson Dart to run out of bounds. Because he's going to be like, look, kid, I can coach you and help you win a Super Bowl, but you can't be, taking huge hits along the sideline. You run out of bounds, please, if you want to win here. That, to me, excites me a lot, especially if you're a Giant fan. You have to love that a guy comes over with a proven track record, won a Super Bowl. When you talk about what he has in front of him from this offense, what are you thinking and how he's going to be able to work with those young guys?
I think he's really going to be able to maximize the running game. With Jaxson Dart, what he did in his rookie year, and we did talk about how ineffective he was at a sliding. He's not going to slide. He's not going to go out of bounds. That's something that John Harbaugh will have to teach out of him. But you're getting a really effective run game. Not only will you have Dart and Scadoo running the football, but I think Tyrone Tracy adds a level of explosiveness. And then, like you said, with Malik Neighbors, you have a guy that can easily create separation. You have a tight end in Theo Johnson that I think can make a lot of plays downfield. And then you have Andrew Thomas at left tackle. I think they're still building something along the offensive line. That wouldn't surprise me if they use their 5th overall pick this year on offensive linemen to really sort of solidify that entire group up front. But I do think John Harbaugh will have his young core, offensively at least, to try and build something in the same vein as what was in Baltimore. I don't think Jaxson Dart is Lamar Jackson by any means. Those are 2 completely different players, and it would be unfair to Jaxson Dart to call him Lamar Jackson. But I do think the running ability is going to be something that John Harbaugh is going to really want to weaponize when he's in New York.
Giants were last in the playoffs in 2022. What does a season look like for John Harbaugh in year 1? Does he get into the playoffs in year 1?
I don't know about getting them to the playoffs in year 1 because of how stacked the NFC is. But I do think they'll get up off the ground floor. Like I said, if you go from being the 5th worst team in the NFL and winning 4 games to winning 7 or 8 in the first year of John Harbaugh, I think that's a win. I think there's a difference between being a bad team and a competitive team. I think as long as you are building something and continuing to grow with the young players, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively. If you can get some more growth out of Abdul Carter, your 3rd overall pick, if you can get some more growth out of Drew Phillips and Tyler Nubin in the secondary, I think that'll be a really good season for the the Giants, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs year 1. I think we got to pump the brakes a little bit there, but being competitive in 2026 should be the goal.
Okay, so be competitive, make strides. 4-13 this past season, so at least better than that. At least maybe 8 wins, right? At least give me something to shoot for.
8 wins.
Give me 8 wins.
You can get to 8 wins. Be a competitive, fun team. 8 wins, 9 wins maybe. You can sort of sneak in. If you are always in the hunt graphic, with they had the playoff contention graphics. If you're always in the hunt, I think that's a win.
All right, the Giants have the 5th overall pick. Who are you drafting if they call you up and go, JP, who should we get at 5?
At 5th overall pick, I think there are a couple options, but I would go with Francis Magnoa, the offensive tackle from Miami. Given the fact that Jermaine Illuminor, their current right tackle, is a free agent, I don't think the Evan Neal experiment has worked out for them. Magnoa is as rock solid as it gets. You don't have to move him to left tackle. I think he has potential to be a great guard, but he could even be a solid tackle. So with the Giants needing to solidify that offensive line and creating a mantra of physicality, the idea of physicality up front. I think that's something that John Harbaugh wants to bring over from Baltimore. So I think Noah there will be really effective. I think given the way that this draft class might shake out, you could have your option between a Noah or wide receivers like Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson with the 5th overall pick, but I am going to go up front, offensive line, build through the trenches, especially given the fact that you have to play the Eagles twice a year, and that might not be fun for Jaxson Dart if he can't stay upright.
I like both those players. Maligoa going to be playing for a national championship on Monday. Carnell Tate was supposed to be playing for another national championship on Monday, but that didn't happen as Ohio State got knocked out by Miami. But certainly, Carnell Tate would be a complementary piece for Malik Neighbors. And if Malik's not ready week 1, you'd have a rookie. And you saw what our guy Emeka Buka did right early on for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were banged up to start the season. He had a great start to the year. I'm just saying. The Ohio State love get the Giants off to a good start. Well, hey, look, the big news here, the Giants finalizing a deal with John Harbaugh to make him their next head coach, JP Acosta, with his perspective on HQ. JP, thanks. Looking to turn New York into a winner because they have not had success coming off a 4-13 campaign. So the first domino has fallen. John Harbaugh to the Giants. We have 8 more head coaching vacancies, and when a head coach agrees to a deal or is going to another team, we will be here to break it down for you. But John Harbaugh, the first domino to fall, headed to the Big Apple. Coming up.
The possible arrival of John Hunt to the G1S means more than just the change of coach. It's a clear attempt to restore credibility, competitiveness, and identity to a franchise that has been struggling for over a decade. With a young roster, high draft picks, and promising offensive talent. The challenge isn't to win it all right away, but to put the team on the right track. Can he modernize his approach, build a strong coaching staff, and develop key players like Chet Dark and Mil Molina? The Guides might finally climb out of rock bottom and become relevant again. There are still a lot of details to work out, but one thing is certain. New York, it seems, has found a leader capable of starting a new chapter, and now all eyes in the NFL are on Big Tipo.